This year marks my 5th year in real estate, and to say it's been an amazing ride would not be doing the journey justice, because to be honest with you, it has been nothing short of a life-changing experience. And before I get to that and where I am today and what I want to be able to give back, I really think that to give more context, starting at the beginning makes a lot more sense. If you've heard me speak at conferences or events before, I reference my start in sales very, very early in my life whenever I was a senior in high school. I was selling Cutco knives. If you're not familiar with what that is out there, basically it's just a very high-end exclusive brand of cutlery that recruits high school students and college students to be able to come in, sell their product, and earn scholarships while doing so. As crazy as it sounds, yes, this is something that is actually real. And I sold lots and lots of Cutco knives and pots and pans and flatware during that time, so much so that I was able to make more than some teachers might make as a senior in high school. This started a love for sales, a passion for people, and more importantly, a passion for entrepreneurship, something like a sense for more. Because I knew that I liked people, I knew I liked working with people, I just didn't know where that would go or take me in life. And so whenever I went and did an appointment for one of my teachers, who just so happened to also be a realtor outside of his 9-to-5 job teaching, he was the one that really sparked the idea to begin with. Shout out to Steven Sutton, who is still a realtor and now is full-time in real estate and has left teaching behind. Super excited and proud for him for that. Either way it goes, when I went over and had an appointment for Cutco for him and his wife, he immediately, right when I got done with my close, was like, "What do you want to do after high school?" And truth be told, all I knew was that I loved sales based on the amount of money that I was making as a senior in high school, so I just said sales. Anything that had to do with marketing. Just like any senior who had just seen The Wolf of Wall Street, I was elated with the idea of closing deals and making lots of money. And so he asked me a very simple question. Well, what do you make when you sell one of these knives? And I told him it was a couple $100 depending on what actual product I was selling. And well, he was like, this is what I make when I sell a single house. And if you show an 18-year-old kid that type of money from a single transaction, I mean, you got to understand how I'm going to react. I want to figure out exactly how it is you do it and how it is that I can do it. And he didn't let me get off the hook. He held me accountable, called me into his classroom a few weeks later, and urged me to sign up for my real estate classes immediately after graduating. And so I did. At the same time, I was already enrolled in my community college classes, so I knew that I had to go one way or the other at some point. But for the time being, I wanted to test the waters in both and see what made the most sense. So I spent my semester in college studying for a marketing degree. And truth be told, it was around the time where things got a little bit heated in the real estate world to begin with. I graduated high school in the summer of 2019 and immediately started my college classes right after in the next semester that was available. Whenever I finished that semester, I had a choice to make because we were around the holidays, it was becoming a new year, and I could continue with my college courses knowing that I might change my major because I was already learning so much about marketing, so much about sales, so much about people, with hands-on experience literally doing what I wanted to do every single day, being a realtor. Not to mention all the sales experience that I had gotten in Cutco previously, where I even asked one of my fellow sales representatives who had a marketing degree from an illustrious university, do you feel like you learned anything more in the marketing program at your college that you went to? And she told me everything that I learned in the classroom I had pretty much already been through in the real world doing Cutco, which I was astonished by because how much can you actually learn by selling knives? The point is, it was all the principles and the foundations and everything that came along with that stuff, which is what we'll talk about a little bit later on. Either way, if you're putting the math together correctly, you'll find out that whenever I finished that first college semester, it was at the beginning of 2020. And if you can remember what happened about 3 months into 2020, the entire world shut down.
The mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
So whenever I was faced with making the decision to go back to college or just take this real estate thing a little bit more serious and see where it goes, I didn't even know what was going to happen with the global pandemic that ended up melting down half of the world during that time. So whenever I finished my initial college semester, I had taken my real estate courses up to the point where I was finally ready to take my test, and I did so while I was on break from my college classes. Ended up passing and getting my license officially. Then I was faced with a decision. I could see where this real estate thing takes me and just realize that college is always going to be there if I ever really want to go back, or I could let real estate be the plan B, be the side option, and just go in college and figure out if there's another sort of coursework or degree that I would want to pursue, knowing that marketing was not going to be the thing that fueled me anymore. The decision nowadays, I would say, is a no-brainer, but during the time was extremely hard to try to make. And whenever I finally made it to jump in full-time in real estate, let me just tell you, looking back, it is the best decision that I ever made. But it didn't feel that way right whenever I made it. Right whenever I made it, you have to understand, 3 3 months later, the world shut down, and here I am, a 19-year-old kid who had never even thought about buying a house for himself, let alone representing people on the largest purchase of their entire life, or the largest sale of an investment of their entire life. I mean, this is serious business that we do in the real estate world. And here I was, a teenager who really didn't know the first thing about real estate, jumping into a brand new world to learn and to be vulnerable and to just be naive. And that is a blessing that I had early on. I was just really naive. I didn't know what I didn't really know. And that helped me grind a little bit harder than I think might have been necessary, truth be told. Naturally, the market was getting a little bit better and more active because of the lack of inventory that was on the market because there was a global pandemic going on. So the lack of homes that were on the market made the homes that were there a little bit more valuable. Not to mention, interest rates were the lowest that they had ever been, so it created a frenzy and a stir within the market. You would think I sold 100 houses that year. I did not, unfortunately. And really, it wasn't 2020 that heated everything up to the max. 2020 was like the discovery year. It was a really weird time. It was kind of awkward because nobody really knew if they could go to the grocery store, go to church, let alone go out and shop for a house or let people shop inside of their house. It was just a really weird time. And so what I did was masked up, put some gloves on, and posted 3 times a day on social media because it felt like the only thing right to do. On top of that, called plenty of people and checked in to make sure that they were doing okay during this crazy time. And that was also a part of the foundation that I think has gotten me to where I am today. And it's the same thing that I preach to every single agent that's on my team or that I come in contact with on a one-on-one conversation. These foundations are things that got me to where I am, and believe me when I say, they're just stepping stones onto the next levels that I want to be able to get to. Fast forwarding past 2020, where I ended up selling about 12 homes and only $2 million worth of real estate, I realized I had done a lot of work and had matched whatever I had made in my previous job. That was a win for me, but I knew I wanted to go into the next year with a new goal and a new level in mind. So I talked to my team lead at the time, who was the manager at my office, and said, hey, I want to make $100,000. I want to crack 6 figures. That's the number I want to make because my buddies that are leaving high school and going into the plants are making 6 figures and I need to catch up. I'm just kidding. That wasn't something that I was thinking about at the time. But I mean, as a 19, 20-year-old kid in the business world, you see everybody in the business world around you and you truly admire what they're able to accomplish. So it naturally just makes you hungry. By the way, if you're in the business world and you don't have that environment around you, I recommend to run to one as soon as humanly possible. Anyways, that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. Getting back to the main point. So I wanted to make 6 figures and I talked to this guy and he's like, well, based off your average price point, you need to sell this many homes. And I said, okay, great. The new year was coming around and I was ready to sell 36 homes at an average price point of $175,000 because yes, that was my average price point at that time. Whenever I went into the year, there was a lot of things that happened without me really even realizing they did. I had planted so many seeds just by being naive and calling literally every single person that I knew, from my friends and family to their friends and family to past clients that I had sold knives to, people that I went to school with, my teachers that taught me while I was in the school, and everybody in between. Whether it had been for just care calls to check up on them because there again was a global pandemic going on at the time, or if it was just to check in, rekindle a relationship, and plant the seed that I was their local real estate agent if they needed absolutely anything in the world. Those seeds came to fruition without me even realizing I had been watering them every single quarter that I talked to many of these people. And all of a sudden, my phone started to ring a little bit more than I was letting those ringtones go out to other people. What I'm telling you is that I was getting calls left and right from all of my sphere of influence. The people that already knew me, liked me, and trusted me, and loved me because I had checked in on them the year prior when the world was on fire. And now we were stepping into a year where interest rates were even lower than they were before. There was a tiny bit more hope and certainty in the world when it came to the pandemic, and people were actually a little bit more outside. That first year where I sold 12 homes, I planted so many seeds during that year, and although I didn't necessarily make the income goals I wanted to make, all those seeds came to fruition when I watered them and went to the next year. Because in that year, I sold 52 homes, and I went from 2 million in volume to 12.5 million in volume. That is an insane jump that not many agents unfortunately get the chance to jump into. My third year, I sold about 52 homes again, except the change was just like the year prior from the year before that, my average price point went up. I started targeting a different demographic. I started working with different clientele. I just started having more transactions in bulk. So within those first 2 years, going from 12 to 52 transactions, from 2 million to 12 million worth of volume as a solo agent, I ended up deciding that there was more for me on the other side. And I ended up building the Monroe team, which is my baby, my company that I still have to this day, where we operate in selling hundreds of homes every single year. And since its inception, have sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate in Houston and in Texas, where my team is firing on all cylinders, operating at a 10 out of 10 level. And now we're starting to grow ancillary services, businesses, and things that are gonna grow alongside our company for years and years to come. And this is sort of like the intro into you coming along with me on that journey. I've kept the book somewhat closed for a very, very long time for very good reason, because I didn't want to give out a recipe that was just going to go spoiled if anybody tried to cook with it. The main reason I want you here watching me is to come along the journey and learn along with me. Because truth be told, on this journey to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate sold and owned, I have messed up a ton, more times than I can probably even count. And through those mess ups, I've learned, I've elevated, I've grown, I've gotten better. And my intention with these videos is to put them out there with the hope that anybody around can cling to them and just become the next big agent in their own market and in their own right, whatever that might look like for them. Because what it looks like to me is a whole lot of fun. And that's why I'm super excited to take you along on this journey with me as we grow together, learn more, elevate our game to the next level, and simply put, dominate this industry. So if that's your speed, and if you want to learn with me, make sure you subscribe, turn the notifications on, stay locked in, like this video, leave a comment if you feel inclined, because whoever the next big agent is going to be growing alongside with me, I'm excited to see you at the top.